Hello everyone! In today's video, we're gonna cover a subject that we did a while back, multilingual SEO. It's one of our most watched videos. But over the years, a lot of things change, and especially with AI coming in the game, a lot of people are questioning how AI impacts multilingual SEO. And now there are new terms like AEO, GEO. I'm sure you heard of it before. So in this video, we're going to revisit that subject, and we're gonna share our 3 top tips, and we're also going to cover the most asked questions, the most common errors, so you can have a better understanding of these tips. And our head of content here to help me answer these questions. Elizabeth, are you ready to tackle this with our first tip?
Yes, let's get on it.
Okay, so our first tip is an obvious one, but a very important one, which is the building dedicated URLs for each language version. But to help everyone understand it, let's first start with the basics. What is even multilingual SEO?
Yeah, well, great place to start. So multilingual SEO is all about making your website visible in search engines, but for multiple languages. So that means we're not just looking at optimizing text, we're also thinking about URLs, metadata, and something that people hate the sound of, hreflang tags. And this all means that people searching in different countries will essentially be able to find you.
And speaking of multilingual websites, is there a difference between a multilingual website and a multi-regional website?
Yeah, so in fact, many of these websites end up being both. So multilingual means your site is available in different languages, for example, English and French, whereas multi-regional means it's targeting different countries. And this can be seen when you're targeting the US or you're targeting the UK. So that's why you can see how quite a lot of there's quite a crossover in this topic.
So, okay, our first tip was using dedicated URLs for each language. We know that this helps users and search engines to understand which language a web page is intended for. But there are multiple structures, so which one is the best? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, complicated one to answer, but there are 3 different setups. So you've got yourwebsite.com /, for example, FR if you're targeting France, and that's called a subdirectory. It's a good balance for SEO and ease of management. And then we have where you would see the language indicator, so FR again, .yourwebsite.com. And this is called a subdomain. It's good option. Potentially not as strong as the subdirectory, but again, it's a choice for the company. And then we have a country domain, which is quite tricky to handle because we're talking about having multiple different websites. So this would be your website .fr. It's expensive and harder to manage, as I said, because you're basically maintaining several different sites. For most beginners, we tend to say subdirectories is the preferable option just because it's simple, it's effective. It is considered pretty solid choice for SEO, and at Weglot we use subdirectories within our product and actually for our own multilingual website.
Okay, great. I think we covered a lot of fundamentals so far, so we can move on to our second tip, which is a tiny bit more technical aspect, but we'll keep it simple and accessible as we always do, which is showing search engines the right signals for each language. It sounds a bit vague, but to understand it better, can you first explain to us, is there a risk to translating your website because technically it's like a duplicate content? It's the same content as your original language. So what's going on there in terms of getting penalized?
Yeah, so importantly, when done correctly, translating a website is of course a performance booster. And when I say correctly, we're talking about don't have multiple different languages on the same page, because firstly, that would be confusing for your customer. But secondly, Google bots aren't going to like seeing several different languages on one website trying to target multiple different languages. But of course, Google will only serve the users the original version, so your translated pages wouldn't even be displayed.
So what is the key way of avoiding this duplicate page penalties in multilingual websites?
Yeah, so one of the big ones, and I touched on it earlier, is hreflang tags, and these tell Google which version of your page to serve to which language region. At the time of recording this video, there is sort of a semi-debate as to whether these might be obsolete soon, but I'm sure we will keep you updated on that topic.
Okay, I didn't know that actually. That's interesting information. But yeah, like even the name hreflang tag suggests it's gonna be something complicated. So can we at least like look at our options? Like how can we set up hreflang tags?
Yeah, predominantly, if you're not technical like myself, working in content, you would need a developer to help implement this, especially as even if you might be able to add them, they can be just so tricky that if you make one small mistake, then, Google's not going to see your French website. French people in France will not see your French website. So it's best to use a tool or a developer. Weglot actually handles hreflang tags automatically. So that's one big aspect of the technical SEO taken care of. We also have a dedicated video. Was it me that recorded that? So you can check back on how exactly how that works linked.
Yeah, I'll make sure to link it up. But so what about sitemaps? I think those terms go hand in hand. Like what are the sitemaps role in multilingual SEO?
Yeah, so sitemap is a map of your website for search engines. We all know within SEO that you need a sitemap. So for multilingual sites, it's the same. You should include translated URLs in your sitemap. Again, it helps Google crawl and index your content faster. Most website builders nowadays, they already automatically generate a sitemap for you, or you can always upload it to Google Search Console manually as another option.
Okay. And what about auto redirection? It's like we're seeing a lot of videos automatically redirecting users to the language of their browser. So it feels like when we think about it, we think, okay, that's the right thing to do. It sounds like very automated, but what are the real data on this? What are your thoughts?
It's a bit of a controversial one, but actually Google advises against it, and it's much better for the user to pick their preferred language. And it's also very important to have that language switcher visible for the user. So making sure you're putting it in the top nav bar. We've spoken sometimes to a few agencies who said they've seen even a positive general SEO impact from the person landing on a website being able to see exactly where they need to go. You avoid bounce times, all these things that add up to a good general SEO profile.
Okay, and let's start talking about AI and AI translation. How does AI translation handle SEO metadata and hreflang tags, like all these aspects we talked about?
So good AI website translation tools like Weglot also translate your metadata, alt tags, and structured data, and automatically manage your hreflang, like I just mentioned. So that means you're not just translating visible text, but you're also ensuring that all the key SEO signals for specifically multilingual SEO behind the scenes are also taken care of. It's not just a question of keyword research in a different market. You've got to have this technical setup as well.
Well, I think we covered the technical part thoroughly, and let's move on to the content part and how AI can help us with this tip, and which is to localize your content for real people with a little bit of help from AI. So let's start with the hot question in everyone's mind. Can AI generated content hurt SEO?
Well, actually, even within the last couple of weeks, Google came out and said, not if it's high quality. Google isn't punishing AI directly. It just cares that the content is valuable. So I think that's something that we all need to bear in mind. It's like, let's not just churn out AI content, but it can help you scale, focus on more articles, as long as you're always incorporating your brand voice, your brand guidelines, and your positioning. And you do have that human review element, which is something that at Weglot we also stand by in terms of human review, AI content, AI translation.
And what about AI specifically for website translation? Can people use or should they use AI for translating their websites?
Absolutely. AI is really good for speed. It can instantly translate large volumes of text, particularly something you might encounter with a website. Obviously, here at Weglot, we have around 800,000 words on our website. When you try and navigate that topic of translating it without AI translation, then you're going to run into some serious workflow difficulties. And the fact is, AI translation is near perfect. It depends, of course, on language pair, but to launch a multilingual website with AI translation, you're off to a really solid start. We even took this a step further with our AI language model. This takes into account your brand tone, your messaging, your guidelines when generating these translations. So it actually minimizes the need for manual review. So you can be pretty confident with AI translation.
Yeah, and I know more and more Weglot users are activating their AI language models and they're using it more. So what kind of use cases can AI language model be helpful for?
So yeah, good question. There's much more involved than just accuracy. For example, let's take text expansion issues. For example, translating from English to German. German is a language that has longer words, so that can clearly cause text expansion issues, and it's a really important consideration from a UX point of view. So here you could actually prompt your AI language model to keep titles and CTAs, those things that are going to expand button lengths, potentially break things. So you could set up a rule like that. And then, of course, it's also very good for keeping consistency across languages. There might be a lot of English terminology in your industry. Let's take tech as an example. So you want to keep them in the original language, regardless of the translation language. We have this debate even at Weglot, do we translate things like business starter, pro plan? We've chose not to, because for us that's a name. So yeah, you can add that as a prompt in your AI language model.
And just going on AI, and we have this new term now, GEO, and I'm also seeing AEO, so however you want to refer to it as. But I think it's important to define the difference between our traditional multilingual SEO versus multilingual GEO or AEO.
Yeah, so much like I said at the top of this video, in terms of the difference between SEO and multilingual SEO, multilingual GEO is about optimizing your translated content to appear in AI-powered tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Bing Copilot. So when you make your content available in multiple languages, you're already clearly increasing your chances of being referenced for somebody searching in Spanish on ChatGPT. So they really go hand in hand.
And I know that you've been working on this big study about the impact of having a multilingual website on LLM visibility, not to spoil it, but can you share some of the findings? Like, can multilingual SEO actually help with being more visible in AI tools like ChatGPT as well?
A short answer, yes. So large language models like ChatGPT, they often pull from well-structured, high-ranking websites. So by optimizing into multi-languages, you're clearly going to increase your chance of being referenced in AI-powered answers globally. And we're not just talking about LLMs, we're talking about, for example, Google AI overviews. We have quite a lot of really interesting data that we're going to be releasing about this. So yeah, let's make sure we link the study in the description.
Will do. And I think we covered everything one might wonder about multilingual SEO and GEO. But if you have any other questions, make sure to leave it in the comments and we'll make sure to get back to you. And to recap our best tips for multilingual SEO and GEO that we covered with Elizabeth, first of all, give each language version its own dedicated URL that clarifies the target language or local. The second rule is to make sure search engines get the right signals with hreflang tags, sitemaps, and clear language separation. Last but not least, localize your content for humans using AI as a support and accelerator, but not as a replacement for human quality. And thank you for joining in for our chat today. And we hope that you learned a lot of useful things, and see you in our next video. Bye.